Welcome back to the Crypto's Key conversation. We're going to get right to it because I got quite a bit that I want to cover here. We're going to start with this one from the Tipsy Tiger here. It says, shame on you, Gary Gensler and the SEC. You are supposed to protect the public. You miss FTX, Celsius, Terra, Three Arrows, and countless of others. Yet again, you try to keep these documents from the public. You know those you keep saying you protect. You are a disgrace to the U.S. So we're talking about the documents, the Hinman emails and whatnot. He continues and says, and shame on Jay Clayton, William Hinman, and Valerie Sapenic, who are also heavily involved in this entire mess. They all need to be investigated, which I 100% agree with. And he put some stuff in there, like a GIF that says, shame, shame. Continuing on here, this is John Deaton responding to that. It says, I don't blame the lawyers at the SEC for making an objection and asking the court to consider the Hinman emails and speech drafts as privileged. But I do expect the lawyers at the SEC to honor and follow the law. They do not. And all they do is try and conceal from the public, that's the most tragic part about it. The public that they're so-called set out to protect. Continuing on here, we have Charles Gasparino says, Scoop, Coinbase tells Fox Business is developing a plan to survive an SEC regulatory crackdown on digital assets using broker-dealers to trade coins registered as securities. Move comes as SEC case versus Ripple looms. SEC win can force coins aside from Bitcoin to register. Man, I'm struggling right now. John Deaton says, to show, he's responding to Emily Nicole here. So, it's talking about UK government unlikely to legislate on crypto regulation until 2024 per Economic Secretary Andrew Griffith. So coming over here, John Deaton has like a short thread talking about the importance of kind of the difference between the U.S. and I guess you could say, other nations and other countries here. It says, to show you how far behind the USA is, all we need to do is look abroad. The UK's FCA has grouped digital assets into three categories. 1, security tokens. 2, exchange tokens. And 3, utility tokens. XRP was deemed a hybrid token, part utility token and part exchange token. He continues, Japan, Singapore, Switzerland, and the UAE have likewise declared XRP a non-security token. Yet in the U.S., we have an SEC that refuses to provide clarity and prefers regulation by enforcement. We will get nothing passed from Congress this year. I hope I'm wrong and sensible legislation is passed, but I don't see it. That's why for 2 years, I and others have been saying how important the Ripple, Library, Dragon Coin, etc. cases are. Regulation by enforcement must end. So he's talking about and reiterating how important and how vital and pivotal, especially the Ripple versus SC case, is to the entire industry. We need the success of Ripple, going against the SC. We need a win because it's definitely going to, I guess you could say, create ripples across the entire crypto industry and set precedent. So I thought this was interesting as well. Charles Gasparino says, did I put this over here? Dang it. He's digital asset investors responding to Charles Gasparino's where it says a bigger question. Coinbase, matter of fact, let me go to it really quick. So it says bigger question. Coinbase, outcome the SEC case versus Ripple over XRP. SEC win clearly allows Gary Gensler to apply same regulatory logic to Ethereum token. Only tradable crypto could be BTC. In other words, exchanges aren't exactly growth businesses. So if we come back here, digital asset investor says, or a Ripple win could give XRP clarity going forward while all other crypto remains in purgatory. So think of it like this. So the way that he's pretty much saying this other option can be is, think about the whole Bitcoin and Ethereum free pass, right? The Ethereum free pass speech from William Hinman, kind of giving, obviously Bitcoin already had its clarity or whatever, but giving Ethereum, the free pass in a sense. So giving it clarity, saying it's not a security, right? So what happened to the rest of the other digital assets? Like, we have nothing to work with. We have, no legislation or no regulations in place that gives us some sort of guideline or rule book to follow, whether, in regards of the status of our particular asset, case in point, XRP. So he's saying here, Ripple wins, XRP is the only digital asset that actually has true regulatory clarity. And the other rest of the assets are like, Ripple and the rest of the assets are right now, like operating in confusion with a lot of question marks in purgatory, not knowing kind of how to move forward and whether the SEC is going to come after them or not. So, I mean, there's a high probability, that could be the case. Who knows, especially when it comes to the SEC trying to, protect their butts. If they want to come to some sort of agreement, especially if the judge says that drafts and emails from William Hinman need to be made public. Like if they don't want those things to surface and be public, obviously they're going to have to work some sort of settlement. And maybe within that settlement, it comes to the terms of like, hey, we don't want anyone to have any access to any of this. So if you want to settle with us, Ripple, here's the deal. We'll give you your clarity that you need, but just know that this is only going to be, case in point set for your digital asset. And, for the rest of them, we're still working on, some sort of guidelines and regulations going forward. So thus leaving the rest of the digital asset economy in space in a state of purgatory. So we all know when it comes to Ripple's camp, obviously you have Stuart Alderati, general counsel. You obviously have Brad Garlinghouse. Their big thing is they say we're settling right now if XRP gets its regulatory clarity and its status of not being a security. We settle right now. So obviously that's all they're focused on. And quite honestly, based on them being in this fight for the past 2 years and undergoing so much scrutiny over the past few years, especially coming from other communities within the space. Hey, at some point we got to look out for this one particular asset, this one particular project and use case right now, and then keep fighting the good fight after we win this battle. And that's kind of what the focus is. This is from Eleanor Terrett. Says new senators take aim at Sullivan and Cromwell for leading FTX officials' internal investigations, even after months of advising the disgraced company. FTX GC was a former partner at Sullivan and Cromwell. Former SEC Chair Clayton is currently a senior policy advisor. So just more stuff coming out. Obviously, Jay Clayton, we know that's the gentleman that was our former chairman who dropped the lawsuit on us days before Christmas in 2020. Just a lot of shady stuff, man. It's kind of crazy how like a lot of these representatives have left the SEC and these people that set in motion this Ripple lawsuit and just some of the shady conflicts of interest and corruption, how they just kind of jump to other firms or other businesses and companies that are involved with the digital asset space and crypto. It's kind of crazy, especially the ones that are like obviously you got the William Hillman Ethereum free pass, obviously giving Bitcoin and Ethereum the free pass. When they're jumping to companies that are clearly benefiting from I guess you could say the success and wellness of Bitcoin and Ethereum. That's the shady stuff. And that's what us in the XRP community have been surfacing with the Ethereum free pass timeline, hashtag ETHgate and all that stuff. And like I said in our video yesterday, there's nothing bigger than hashtag ETHgate. The ETHgate scandal obviously is absolutely massive. And yes, there's been massive tragedies and catastrophic failures within the industry. And we've said it all, the Terra Lunas of the world, Celsius's, and obviously the Sam Bankman-Fried and FTX stuff. But hashtag ETHgate is absolutely massive, and I believe that to my core, based on the evidence that's presented, and especially just with all the secrecy and obviously the SEC trying to redact and suppress vital information from the public, and let alone from Ripple from defending themselves. There's so much that we don't know that's continuing to be surfaced. It's crazy. Rant over. Moving on. This is Digital Asset Investor. So he's responding to a lot of people here, but remember we talked about a while back when Brian Armstrong and Coinbase were trying to start their Lend product. Their Lend, I don't know what, I guess you could say it's a product. Yeah, they were, let me turn this dang alarm off. Yeah, they're trying to start their Lend product, and the SEC had pretty much shut them down, saying, hey, if you do this, we're coming after you type thing, right? But there was all these other platforms out there that had, a Lend product. Like, if the customers had custodied their assets on their particular platform, right, with that company, they would earn a certain percent of yield or interest on what they held, right? Obviously, Brian Armstrong and Coinbase wanted to do their own, but they were hit. So digital asset investors asking, hey, Cameron, Tyler, Gary Gensler, Hester Pierce, John Deaton, can we get an update on why Gemini was allowed to have an earn program, but Coinbase and Brian Armstrong were threatened not to, or they would face a lawsuit by the SEC. So he's putting up this tweet thread right here, and he's responding to Cameron Winklevoss's earn update, an open letter to the board of the DCG. So we're going to cover this whole DCG and Gemini and the Winklevoss twins, little battle going on right now in this. I'm going to try to read through this quick, but I think this is important because this is kind of tying into this whole next Black Swan event that could possibly take place in regards of the digital currency group, the DCG, and Barry Silbert and them. So I'm gonna try to be as quick as possible with this. So it says Cameron Winklevoss, there is no path forward as long as Barry Silbert remains CEO of DCG. So coming down here, it says Cameron Winklevoss, co-founder of the cryptocurrency exchange Gemini, has penned an open letter to the board of Digital Currency Group, or DCG, saying CEO Barry Silbert was unfit to run the company. In a January 10th letter, Winklevoss claimed Silbert and Genesis Global Capital, a subsidiary of DCG, have defrauded more than 340,000 users who were a part of Gemini's Earn program. The letter followed a January 2nd appeal on Twitter to Silbert directly, in which the Gemini co-founder said Genesis owed Gemini $900 million, accusing the CEO of hiding behind lawyers, investment bankers, and process. Gemini later notified its users that it had terminated its Earn program effective as of January 8th. So keep this in mind. So obviously the Winklevoss and Gemini are coming after Barry Silbert for being unfit and the DCG for defrauding them, right? Saying that they owe a certain allocation of money. Obviously you're saying 900 million. Okay. So obviously there's a battle of Gemini and the Winklevoss trying to cover their butts, saying like, hey, we didn't screw our customers. Barry Silbert and the DCG, they messed up. You know, that's kind of what this is what I'm getting from it, at least. So I'm going to continue here. It says, according to Winklevoss, Genesis lent more than $2.3 billion to the 3 Hours Capital, a move which ultimately left the crypto firm with a loss of $1.2 billion once the hedge fund failed in June 2022. He claimed Silbert, DCG, and Genesis orchestrated a carefully crafted campaign of lies starting in July 2022 in an effort to show DCG had injected the funds into Genesis by including a 10-year promissory note as part of its assets. Winklevoss alleged Genesis CEO Michael Morrow was complicit in this duplicity by issuing false and misleading statements on social media regarding DCG providing capital to Genesis. In addition, he claimed certain DCG personnel had worked behind the scenes to cover the lack of adequate capitalization at Genesis. According to the Gemini co-founder, an accounting irregularities of which DCG and Silbert had been a part might have been overlooked and had FTX not collapsed within a matter of months. He alleged there were recursive trades between 3 Arrows and Grayscale Bitcoin Trust in which he called effectively swap transactions for Genesis of Bitcoin, and it says BTC currently at that, for GBTC, a move in which Genesis eventually lost and did not adequately report on its balance sheets. So even GBTC, so the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust, that's a part of this whole, you know, people are talking about this whole next Black Swan event that could, you know, decimate our market, you know, and push us further down. Like you're talking about the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust, you know, goes bust or whatever, what do they say, belly up or whatever, on top of like this whole DCG stuff and just all this confusing stuff, right? Just know that if things pan out to where things don't play out how they should, meaning how, you know, things are reported properly, you know, there's the proper funds there, customers are protected and covered in full, yada, yada, yada. If things don't go well, it could be catastrophic. So long story short, there's a quote here that says, these misrepresentations were a sleight of hand designed to make it appear as if Genesis was solvent and able to meet its obligation to lenders without DCG actually committing to the financial support necessary to make this true. DCG wanted to have its cake and eat it too. So coming down here, this letter, I can literally go through this entire letter and read it, but it'd just be terrible. So this article actually does a pretty good job of kind of, I guess you can say, covering it in a concise version. Continues. In a statement to Cointelegraph, a DCG spokesperson called the letter a desperate and unconstructive publicity stunt, claiming Winklevoss and Gemini were solely responsible for operating Gemini Earn and marketing the program to its customers. The firm suggests it could pursue legal actions if necessary. So think about this. This is what I was just talking about. Obviously, it's, you know, no, it's not our fault. It's their fault. That's kind of what's going on. And it seems like, you know, based on the evidence, there's maybe some truth to this publicity stunt or, you know, Winklevoss trying to say, hey, you know, obviously they're trying to put the blame on something else, which it seems like DCG and Barry Silbert and them may have, you know, a stronger side in regards of this argument in a sense. So we'll kind of see how things plan out if things go into like legal action, court, whatever. Silbert addresses some of Winklevoss' claims in January 10th letter to shareholders, in which he said Genesis had a trading and lending relationship with both 3 Arrows and Alameda Research. He added that DCG did not receive any cash, cryptocurrency, or other form of payment for 1.1 billion promissory note for Genesis liabilities. DCG currently owes Genesis Capital 447.5 million in USD and 4,550 BTC worth 78 million, which matures in May 2023, said Silbert. DCG borrowed 500 million USD between January and May 2022 at an interest rate of 10 to 12%. And ends here, says, unlike in his January 2nd letter, Winklevoss directly called on the DCG board to remove Silbert in an effort to provide a resolution for earn users. In response to that letter, Silbert claimed DCG did not borrow 1.67 billion from Genesis and never missed an interest payment to Genesis and is current on all loans outstanding. There is no path forward as long as Barry Silbert remains CEO of DCG, said Winklevoss. He has proven himself unfit to run DCG and unwilling and unable to find a resolution with creditors that is both fair and reasonable. As a result, Gemini, acting on behalf of 340,000 earn users, requests that the board remove Barry Silbert as CEO. So, I mean, there's a lot there. And obviously this is ongoing. So we're going to continue to see kind of what happens. But I don't know, man. Just a lot of drama here. So Barry Silbert here, he has this long 10 tweet thread here, but I'm just going to read the last thing here. It says, Barry Silbert says, let's all grow together, treat others with respect, and get back to having fun and making a dent in the universe. There goes that dent in the universe. You know, that we all know about making a dent in the universe with Ripple, right? But he continues and says, I can assure you that DCG is certainly committed to doing so. Please refer here for my full statement and Q&A. So this whole thing of it all just seems strange. Like it's almost like a battered wife and a husband arguing at each other. Like, oh no, it's your fault. No, this is your fault. It's like, okay, well, you're both in a sense putting up some sort of publicity stunt. Obviously, trying to I guess put the blame on the other person as much as possible. I don't know the specifics. Obviously, more as this thing progresses, we're going to know more. But this whole, let's get together, treat others with respect, have fun. It's like, well, there's a lot of users, as you guys are arguing and battling over who did what and who's at fault. There's over 340,000 customers that are hurt by it. You know what I'm saying? There's people within the industry that are normal everyday investors and the like that are affected by it. And it's almost like that's lost. You can just tell by the way they talk, like having fun and all this stuff. I mean, there's really nothing fun about what's going on. It's kind of sickening to see that, but I can kind of see what he's trying to do. He's trying to bring some positive light into this, which, I hope if he's doing this, I mean, maybe he has, a lot more, I guess you could say, positive variables in his corner versus the Winklevoss, but we'll see. All right, we're done on that one. This is from XRP Crypto Wolf. It says the Federal Reserve is flagging crypto assets as dangerous. Yeah. It's not like we ain't heard something like that before. And look at this. JP Morgan CEO calls Bitcoin a decentralized Ponzi scheme. We've covered JP Morgan and what they do. It's that whole conversation of, don't do as they say, do as they do. Okay. So they can talk all they want. All they're trying to do is fake us out, trying to get us to sell. And all they're doing is in the background is accumulating your fear from the FUD they create. Just disregard this, quite honestly. This from XRP Crypto Wolf as well. Look at this. Crypto market turns bullish, but Jim Cramer advises crypto investors to make their exit. It's just tragic. We're really not that dumb. And the crazy thing is we need channels like this and, like the Digital Asset Investor and all the great YouTube, crypto YouTubers out there and, even people on Twitter that are constantly out there reassuring people, to the best of our ability, based on, our experience within the space and based on, the conviction we have based on the evidence and research that we put in, that hey, you're all right, man. As long as you're investing in solid projects, that you vet and that you look into, they got solid teams. They're trying to do things, with the governments. They're not trying to shake governments, and they're trying to do things the right way by law, for the laws and regulations that we can abide by. Then you're solid, because over time, if you zoom out, you see that Bitcoin and crypto goes up. Obviously, we have our bear markets, but we have our bull markets as well. But, people like JPM and JP Morgan representatives and Jim Cramers of the world, it's like, dude, I'm doing the opposite of what you're doing, or what you're saying, excuse me. This is from CZ Binance. It says more FUD incoming. We'll ignore. So obviously there's this like campaign to, attack CZ and Binance, obviously as the story unfolds and as the so-called investigation that they've been having, or the probing, I don't know what exactly they're doing, but we'll see as time goes on how things unfold in regards of CZ and Binance. But clearly there's been a coordinated effort to go after CZ, which is crazy. But the whole more FUD incoming, I mean, that's kind of our space. We just got to anticipate it and expect it and kind of take our wins when we get them. And that's just kind of how we have to, run with that. Quickly covering this right here. This is an update from that insider trading stuff with the Coinbase. It says ex-Coinbase manager's brother sentenced to 10 months in insider trading case. It says it is believed to be the first insider trading case involving cryptocurrency. Yeah, the first one brought to court, but I mean, that stuff happens all the time. But that's just a quick update. And then I'm going to end on this one right here. I thought this was pretty funny. This is from XRP Standard Production. It says, breaking news. Can you believe this? It says SEC announces XRP buyback plan for 0.00000. Long story short, worth nothing, which is kind of comical. Because then you have like the, was it Jimmy Valley and the Val Capital talking about, a buyback of, what's it, 30 to 50,000 or some wild number, which, obviously, they have their reasonings for saying that. But I just think it's funny how you have that end of the spectrum and then you have the XRP, the Standard Productions, making this little parody or comical image here. Man, that was a lot. But I'm glad you stuck with me. Make sure you come to the Crypto is Key Conversation YouTube channel. Subscribe. Follow us on Twitter at Crypto is Key 1. I really appreciate your support out there. With all that being said, stay strong out there and be safe.